Come on, now!
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
What is going on?
What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to Scrapbot Salvage. My name is Jamie. In this video, we're going to take a old Pepper container and a Power Rangers figure and make a robot I'm calling Mr. Pepper. Here's what we're starting with here. A Power Ranger figure I found in a bag of thrift store toys and a regular old Pepper container. I don't know why I've never tried using one of these tin containers before, but it actually lends itself well to building a robot. First thing we had to do was get this Power Ranger taken apart. For any of you Power Rangers fans out there, look away now. I did check and see if this was a valuable toy, and I couldn't find anything that was really valuable about it. So apart it came. This was an easy process because the figure was held together with mostly screws. I've been trying to decide lately if it's better to do a full voiceover, which means me talking through the whole video, or what I've normally been doing and doing a couple of sections of voiceover and then speeding up or showing the actual work being done. I personally don't feel like people want to watch me take apart every single screw on a figure or listen to me just ramble on about things. Leave a comment below on what you prefer. Do you like videos that have full talking through it, or just hit points here and there? Here we already have the arms attached to the Pepper container. These are just glued on because I was not going to try to make them posable. I was thinking about adding the legs to the bottom of this. This gave me kind of a Dr. Toys vibe. But in the end, I decided just to go with the container itself, as I didn't want it to be too tall and it looked out of proportion. I also don't really like using action figure legs or arms because they're already pre-made, and I do like to scratch build a lot of my things. But in this case, this was kind of an easy build and just something I wanted to throw together. As you can see in these pictures here, these are some Final Faction figure parts from the Dollar Tree. In keeping with the food theme, I found this ketchup lid and thought it would make a cool front for it. I would use the middle part for an eye and try to keep the closure of the top cap. And here I am slightly off camera trying to remove the plastic piece that makes it a squirt bottle. My intention was to put an eyeball in this spot, which I never ended up doing. Here I am using a red game piece to try to make a lens for the back of it. Again, I really didn't end up using this at the end. I did have to drill out the hole because the plastic inside was very hard to come out even with using an X-Acto knife. As you can see here, I also added a secondary eye using a little screw-in piece. Since there wasn't much surface area on the back of the cap, I used the Crafter's Gold, aka EVA foam, to make a circle template that made it easier to stick to the can. If you're a crafter or a scratch builder and haven't used EVA foam, you're really missing out. This stuff is like pure magic. It makes a very strong bond on materials that normally wouldn't stick together. Having a wife that's a nurse is very beneficial in this hobby. She's always bringing home these IV kit things with these valves and tubing and everything else. They work well as greeblies for robots. At this point, I really haven't decided what the role of this robot would be, but seeing as I added cannons to his forearms, I'm going to go ahead and say he's some kind of security or assault bot. I just thought these valves would look cool on the back. I figures when he returns to base, he can use these valves to refuel himself. In keeping with my last theories for building robots, he had to have some kind of power pack. So I glued on this little electronic piece, I forgot what it's from, maybe a fuse holder, and I just used some spare wire and connected those valves to that power supply. I realized at this point that there wasn't an easy way to attach it to the power supply. So I went ahead and grabbed a straw and just cut off the ends of it to use it as an input tube to insert the wire. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I am still getting used to the overhead camera shot. So I do apologize that some of these shots may be out of frame or out of focus. Now that I have the straw piece on here, it's going to make it way easier to insert these wires. I added a few more greeblies to the robot and considered the build part of this done. As you can see, there are some rivets, a couple antennas, and some guitar string wire for the guns. So let's get on to paint. My intentions for this robot was kind of making a Dr. Pepper looking base coat. So I mixed up some custom paint and did that. Here I am now just using a lighter tone to go ahead and make some wear and tear around the corners and edges. I didn't want to go heavily rusty on this one, as I feel like sometimes I get stuck in a pattern of using too much rust. So I tried to just do some wear and tear spots to prevent it from looking overly rusty. And since we all know painting is the most boring thing to watch, let's learn a little bit about Mr. Pepper. Mr. Pepper was originally built as a roadside soda mascot for a forgotten bottling company somewhere in the dust-choked industrial wastes. After the collapse, scavengers rebuilt him from mining equipment, vending machine parts, and military surplus hardware. His cheerful advertising voice still glitches through static while he patrols abandoned highways looking for thirsty customers. His oversized arm cannons were never meant to be weapons. One arm was originally a high-pressure syrup launcher, and the other dispensed carbonated coolant foam for factory fires. Over decades of modifications, both became devastating combat tools. Despite his terrifying power, locals say Mr. Pepper still follows fragments of his original programming. Travelers who offer him old bottle caps, soda signs, or rare syrups are sometimes allowed safe passage through his territory. Others aren't so lucky. After adding some rust washes, I'm just dry brushing some of that lighter color back on to bring out some of the details. Here I am going in with some silver just to get some highlights going on most of the black parts here. I want them to kind of look like worn out gunmetal. And here is the finished product. I really like that the muted colors here are not overtaken by any kind of rust, but you can still get a worn look. I use an acrylic silver marker to trim along a lot of the sides to get that worn paint look without being too rusty. All in all, this turned out to be a pretty easy and simple build, which is nice. I'm all for loading things up with all kinds of detail. Sometimes it's nice just to keep it simple and use what you have laying around and not think too much about it. I'm really pleased with how this came out. Hope you enjoyed the video. I got some glamour shots coming up. And until the next one, be well.